What if, just once, we didn't have to wake up worrying about what the government will do next? What if we lived in a country where the news wasn't full of fear, silence, or loss, but hope? What would it feel like to have a leader who actually cared, not about control or power, but about people? Someone who stood with the community, not above it. Sounds ideal, right? But that's far from how the real world works. History is full of moments where the truth was silenced, where speaking out meant disappearing. The film I'm Still Here tells the true story of Brazil under the grip of right-wing military dictatorship, one openly supported by the United States in 1971. Anyone who challenged the regime's narrative became a threat. The father, Rubens Paiva, an ex-congressman and engineer turned activist, was one of many who paid the price. In a system where the law was just a mask for violence, the military didn't need permission to act. People were arrested, disappeared, and tortured without charge, without trial, without reason. That's exactly how Rubin was taken. One day, he was home, the next, gone. But the heart of I'm Still Here isn't Rubens, it's his wife, Eunice. The day after her husband was taken, Eunice and her daughter Elena were also dragged in for questioning. What follows isn't just a political story, it's a humane one. Fernando Torres captures Eunice's quiet strength with remarkable depth, especially in the prison scenes, where fear, confusion, helplessness flicker across her face in silence. Eunice was held for 5 days, 5 days of not knowing where her husband was, not knowing how her children were doing, and not knowing what might happen next. But she didn't break. She has spent the next 43 years fighting for answers, for justice, for the truth to come out, and she never stopped. This film isn't just about one family's loss. It's a window into the cruelty of Brazil's 1971 dictatorship. Through Eunice and her children, we feel the fear, the confusion, the endless waiting. Where's her father? A question without an answer, echoing through decades. The grief wasn't just emotional, it was practical too. They had to let go of their house assistants, leave their home in Rio, and rebuild from scratch. The violence didn't stop with the disappearance. It crept into every corner of their lives. Even with its heavy subject, the film is visually stunning. Rio de Janeiro in 1970s glows with warm vintage tones, each frame capturing a time that feels both distant and dangerously familiar. Some scenes feel like old photographs come to life, as if memory itself is trying to hold on to what history tried to erase. But beyond the visuals, it's Eunice's journey that stays with you. At 48, she went back to college, studied law, and became a human rights activist. Her fight wasn't just loud or violent, but it was relentless. She teaches us that justice is a long road, and sometimes you have to walk it alone. Just like this film gives us a powerful portrait of a family torn apart by state violence in Brazil. In Balochistan, we are living through that pain every day. Thousands of families have been broken by enforced disappearances and the cruelty of a system that thrives on silence. Fathers, daughters, brothers, taken without warning. No trial, no charges, no graves, just long years of waiting. But from that silence, voices have risen. Just like Eunice Paiva, it's often women who refuse to be quiet. Activists like Dr. Marang Baloch, Samidin Baloch and Dr. Sabia Baloch carry more than their personal grief. They carry the stories of generation being erased, and they are not letting anyone forget. And like Eunice, their resistance isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a smile. A smile that lingers. I smile before a photograph. I smile after an interrogation. A smile given to children who still don't understand that their father isn't coming back. In this film, that smile becomes a form of resistance. Not a mask, but a cracked, glistening shield held up against the machinery of erasure. Because the state can disappear bodies, it can bury truth, stall justice, rewrite headlines, but it cannot so easily silence a smile that insists, he was here, we loved, we still do. In one haunting scene, an international reporter asks Eunice and her children to pose looking sad for the camera. She refuses. She smiles instead, not out of joy but defiance. A refusal to let her grief be framed, consumed, and flattened into another state-approved image. In that moment, the camera turns. The watchers are watched. The narrative is reclaimed. Eunice's smile becomes a quiet act of narrative sabotage. She refuses to perform the expected choreography of victimhood, no bowed heads, no staged sorrow. Instead, she offers something dissonant and disarming. A smile that unsettles. A smile that resists becoming legible to power. A smile that says, "You don't get to write this story." The smile becomes an ambush. It catches the lens off guard. It exposes the voyeurism backed into media that tries to aestheticize suffering, turning real grief into consumable content for distant, unaffected eyes. But Eunice does not allow herself to be reduced, not to a passive symbol, not to a state-made warning, not to a tragic spectacle for the world to pity and forget. By smiling, she seizes authorship. She redraws the frame, and in that moment, she becomes not just subject, but storyteller. Just like Eunice, there are others, and in their smile there's no fear, only fire. "I'm Still Here" is no longer just a film title, it's a declaration. The voice of every mother, every sister and brother the state tried to erase rising, unyielding and still here. And we smile not out of joy, but out of refusal, out of defiance.